A girl stood near the back alleys of the bustling city, her frail frame hidden under layers of worn clothing. Her name was Lena, and she was no older than 20. With trembling fingers, she rummaged through a heap of discarded trash, searching for scraps she could sell, cans, broken electronics, anything of value. The morning sun filtered between the towering buildings, casting golden streaks across her tangled hair. Passers-by walked quickly, avoiding her eyes, some whispering cruelly under their breath. But Lena had learned long ago how to become invisible. She wasn't always like this. There had been a time, distant now, when her laughter filled a house with bright windows and warm walls. But everything had crumbled the day her father vanished without a trace, and with him, the fortune they once relied on. Her mother fell into depression, debts mounted, and soon, they were out on the streets. Since then, Lena lived between shelters and alleys, guarding the only thing she had left from her past, a peculiar necklace, antique gold, with an intricate design shaped like two interlocking crescent moons. She wore it beneath her shirt, never taking it off. That day, as she reached for a rusted kettle among the trash, a harsh voice called out behind her. "Hey, that's private property." Lena turned sharply, eyes wide with fear. A tall man in a tailored gray suit stood there, his face chiseled and stern. Behind him, a luxury car idled with the driver still inside. She backed away instinctively, holding up her hands. "I'm sorry, sir. I wasn't stealing. Just looking for recyclables." The man looked at her more carefully now. There was something strangely familiar in her eyes, an innocence he hadn't seen in years. He stepped closer, and as the light hit her neckline, a glint of gold caught his attention. "Wait," he said slowly, pointing at the necklace. "Where did you get that?" Lena instinctively covered it, her expression guarded. "It was my father's," she said softly. "It's all I have left of him." The man's face changed, his confidence faltered. He took a deep breath and then, without asking, pulled a matching necklace from beneath his own shirt. Identical, down to the very engraving on the back, "To the light of my life, AK." Time seemed to stop. "Who was your father?" he asked, voice low. Lena hesitated. "Kareem Al-Fayed," she whispered. The man took a step back, as if struck. "That's impossible," he said. "Kareem Al-Fayed was my brother." Lena's knees nearly gave out. She stared at him, her world tilting. This man, this millionaire, was her uncle? He saw her trembling and reached out. "I need you to come with me," he said gently. "There's something you need to know about your father. About everything." They drove in silence, the streets growing more elegant as they neared the heart of the city. She glanced at the man, his name was Malik, and wondered how her life could flip so suddenly. Inside his penthouse, photos of Kareem lined the walls, and Lena felt a sting in her heart. He hadn't been forgotten after all. Malik poured her tea and began unraveling a story she could hardly believe. Her father hadn't abandoned them. He had uncovered a vast financial conspiracy in their company and disappeared to protect his family. He was presumed dead, but Malik wasn't so sure. "There have been rumors," he admitted. "Sightings. Whispers. But no proof. Until now, your necklace. It's part of a pair he and I created as a symbol of trust. Only the two of us had it." Lena felt a fire ignite inside her. For the first time in years, she had purpose. She wasn't just a girl lost in the streets. She was the daughter of a man who had fought for truth and vanished in the shadows of corruption. "I want to find him," she said firmly. Malik nodded. "Then you'll need to be stronger than ever. If he's alive, they'll come for you too. And they'll stop at nothing." Just then, his assistant burst through the door, face pale. "Sir, there's been a breach in the archive room. Someone's looking for the old Al-Fayed files." Lena's heart raced. She knew this was only the beginning. Malik jumped from his seat, his expression darkening. He didn't wait for further explanation. "Stay here," he ordered Lena, then rushed down the hall with his assistant trailing behind. But Lena didn't stay put. Something inside her stirred. An instinct, a pull stronger than fear. She followed, silently, barefoot on the polished floors, staying just out of sight. The archive room was on the lower level, behind a coated glass door. She hid behind a large plant in the hallway as she watched Malik unlock it with his fingerprint. Inside, rows of steel cabinets and shelves held the legacy of Al-Fayed Enterprises: documents, flash drives, hard disks, ledgers. But tonight, someone had breached this fortress. She peeked through the open door. A window had been forced open. Papers scattered across the floor. A cabinet had been pried open. Malik was already sifting through the damage, his brow furrowed, muttering to himself. The 2005 acquisition files, they're missing. His assistant gasped. That's the year Kareem vanished. Lena felt her stomach twist. What were in those files? What had her father discovered that was dangerous enough to make him disappear? She couldn't help herself. She stepped inside the room. Malik turned sharply. I told you to stay. I need to help, she said, her voice steady. I want to know who my father really was. And what they're hiding. Malik looked at her for a long moment, then gave a short nod. Fine. But if you're coming into this world, you need to be prepared. It's not just corporate secrets. It's power, corruption, and people who would burn down cities to protect their lies. He walked to a hidden drawer, unlocked it, and pulled out a thin, leather-bound journal. This, he said, is your father's. Lena took it carefully, as if holding a relic from a ghost. Inside, the pages were filled with Kareem's elegant handwriting, notes, numbers, coded names, even sketches of company structures. But what stood out was a line scribbled in red ink across a page. If anything happens to me, find the girl with the crescent. She holds the key. Lena's breath caught. He was talking about me. Malik nodded. Your father must have known he'd be targeted. He scattered pieces of the truth. Maybe to protect you. Maybe to make sure the truth didn't die with him. Suddenly, the intercom buzzed. Mr. Malik, said a voice from the front desk. There's a woman downstairs asking for you. She says her name is Nadia. Malik's face turned pale. That's your mother's name. Lena's heart pounded. It can't be. She died last year in the shelter. But Malik was already moving. Lena followed close behind, confusion tearing through her. When they reached the lobby, a woman stood waiting. She wore a plain dress and a scarf that partly covered her face. But when she looked up, Lena gasped. It was her mother. Mama? Her voice cracked. The woman rushed forward, pulling Lena into a tight embrace. Habibti, she whispered, tears falling freely. I'm sorry. I had to disappear. Lena pulled back, staring in disbelief. You let me think you were dead. Her mother cupped her face gently. Because I was being hunted. They came for me. I knew they would come for you too. I left to protect you. Malik interrupted. What do you mean? Who's they? She looked at him, her eyes full of pain and something else, urgency. The people Kareem was trying to expose. They found out he had a daughter. They've been looking for her. They think she knows where the drive is. Lena frowned. What drive? Her mother reached into her coat and pulled out a tiny, dust-covered USB. This. Malik took it carefully, examining it under the light. Where was this all these years? Her mother looked at Lena. Your father hid it inside the base of the necklace, the second crescent. Lena gasped and reached for her own pendant. She hadn't noticed it had a small slot, barely visible unless you knew it was there. Her hands trembled. He kept it close to me all this time. Malik plugged the drive into his laptop. The screen came alive with encrypted files and folders labeled in codes. Project Crescent, KA Witness, Tango Assets, Al-Huda Logs. He clicked open a video. A grainy recording flickered to life. Kareem, sitting in a dark room, his voice urgent. If you're watching this, then I've failed. The corruption runs deeper than I thought. Our company is just a front. The funds, they're being laundered through charities. Children's hospitals, orphanages. They're stealing from the vulnerable. Malik's jaw clenched. Kareem continued. I've hidden the documents across different cities. The full map is encrypted and scattered. Only the bloodline will be able to access it. If they find Lena, they'll use her. The screen went black. Lena's hands were ice cold. "We have to finish what he started," she whispered. "We have to expose them." But Malik's face was grim. "They already know you're alive. And now that your mother's resurfaced, they'll come." Before Lena could speak, the security alarm blared across the penthouse. Red lights flashed. A voice crackled over the speaker. "Unauthorized access. Roof level breach." Malik looked at them both. "They're here." Lena's pulse thundered in her ears as Malik rushed to the wall and pressed a hidden button, revealing a secret passage behind the bookshelf. He turned to her and her mother with a fierce urgency in his voice. "You both need to go, now. This leads to the maintenance shaft. Follow it to the service elevator and head straight to the safe house. I'll hold them off." "No," Lena said, stepping forward. "I'm not running anymore. I've lived my whole life hiding, scavenging, being afraid. But now I know who I am. I'm Kareem Al-Fayed's daughter. And if he had the courage to go up against monsters, then so do I." Malik stared at her, a mix of pride and fear swimming in his eyes. Her mother clutched her hand, but said nothing, because deep down, she understood too. This was no longer just about survival. It was about justice. The sound of boots echoed above them. Shadows danced near the rooftop windows. Malik shoved a hard drive into Lena's hands. "Then we do it together. This contains everything we decrypted from Kareem's files. We leak it tonight. But you must promise me something. If anything happens to me, you finish it. You show the world who they are." Lena nodded, her voice firm. "I swear." Suddenly, the skylight above shattered with a violent crash as armed men in black harnesses descended on ropes. Malik pushed the women toward the passage as gunfire rang out behind them. Lena turned back for one last look. Malik ducked behind a marble column, returning fire, covering their escape. They ran through the narrow tunnel, lungs burning, hearts racing. As the elevator descended, Lena's mind played fragments of her father's video over and over. The quiet desperation in his voice. The sorrow. The hope. She knew then that this mission wasn't just his legacy, it was now her calling. The safe house was buried beneath an abandoned bookshop in the old quarter of the city, untouched by modern eyes. There, with shaking hands, Lena opened the hard drive on an old, secure laptop Malik had stored there. The documents were staggering: ledgers, wire transfers, emails, voice recordings. Names of high-ranking officials, powerful businessmen, even charity directors, all siphoning money meant for orphans and the sick. Her mother stood over her shoulder, stunned. All this time, this is what he died for. Lena clenched her jaw. Then, let's make sure it wasn't in vain. She contacted Malik through the encrypted channel, but there was no reply. Her heart sank. But she didn't allow herself to grieve. Not yet. She sent the files to 5 major global media outlets. Not just in their country, but London, New York, Istanbul, Geneva. Within hours, the files exploded online. Hashtags flooded social media. Hashtag Project Crescent trended worldwide. Journalists began digging, activists rallied, and whistleblowers came forward, emboldened by the leak. Lena didn't show her face, but her voice echoed in every broadcast, every article, every shared post. She became the mysterious girl with the crescent, the symbol of truth, the spark of revolution. In the days that followed, the empire built on corruption began to crack. Arrests were made, hidden accounts frozen, high-ranking officials forced to resign in disgrace. Entire institutions were exposed as fronts. And one morning, as Lena sat by the window of the safe house, sipping tea with her mother, the door creaked open. Malik stood there, blood on his sleeve, but fire in his eyes. "They couldn't stop me," he said with a grin. "But they tried." Lena ran to him, embracing him tightly. "You made it." He looked down at her with awe. "You made it. The whole world knows the truth now, because of you." But even with the world watching and justice ignited, Lena knew their work wasn't over. Kareem's body was never found. His final message hinted at other files, deeper conspiracies, people more powerful and dangerous than she had ever imagined. And so, Lena didn't return to the shadows. She chose the light. With her uncle and mother at her side, she formed a foundation under her father's name, not only to protect the innocent, but to hunt down the corrupt hiding behind masks of wealth and philanthropy. People began to speak her name in reverence, not just as a survivor, but as a symbol. A girl who once dug through garbage to survive, who carried the truth around her neck without knowing, and who, when the moment came, chose to rise instead of run. And though she never forgot the pain of the alleyways or the silence of her father's absence, she wore her necklace with pride, knowing it once held not just a key, but the heartbeat of a legacy. The story of Lena Al-Fayed spread like wildfire, not because it was filled with glamour or fantasy, but because it was true,
Raw.
human. A reminder that even in the darkest corners of the city, among forgotten souls and discarded things, sometimes the brightest light emerges.